Hello, my name is Simon Gibson. I'm the founder of World Speech Day, and welcome to this third edition of Rhetoric Remix. Rhetoric Remix is going to be a regular broadcast in which we're going to invite experts and commentators from around the world to give us some insights and some comment on some aspect of rhetoric today, or some review of historic rhetoric indeed. And today's edition is devoted to China and to a talk from Mungjia Mao about rhetoric, Chinese rhetoric rather, and public speaking in China, and indeed the Chinese language. So we'll go to Mungjia now and hear from her. Thanks very much.
Hello everyone, this is Mungjia, breaking from Shanghai, China. I'm the China ambassador of World Speech Day, and I'm really happy to be here to celebrate World Speech Day together with all of you. Today, I'm going to talk something about Chinese language and public speaking. Years ago, I went to friends, and they told me that, you know what, when we meet any difficulties, we will say, it's all Chinese to me. And as we know that in English, people say that it's all Greek to me when they encounter with any extreme difficulties. So we can say that Chinese is always considered as one of the most difficult languages in the world. What do you think? The same as my foreign friends, Chinese is definitely difficult. Even for me, who has learned for it for many years, I can still not say that I have mastered the language, because it's one of the oldest languages in the world with over 3,000 years history. And it's a tongue language that with 4 tones, ma, 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 ah, 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 can recognize the tiny differences between pronunciations. And for one pronunciation, there can be many words. And for one word, there can be many meanings. It is a very unique language that it is the only extant pictographic language in the world. And what's more, there are over 100 dialects in China. For example, I came from the north of China, but I have stayed here in Shanghai for many years, but I can still not understand the local language. However, what if I say that in Chinese there are no articles, no word inflections or conjugations, and no plurals? We don't have the difference between a boy and a boys, girl and girls, one boy, two boy, one girl, two girl. When I was learning Italian word, I have to remember at least 24 words for one word, because it has to change according to the tense and the subjects. But in Chinese, you don't have this kind of difficulty. As subject, one word, and object, then came to a sentence, and you can communicate. And when it came to the writing, just like you're drawing, remember that Chinese is kind of picture language. So easier? Actually not such kind of difficult, right? They all this language with the most people speak it. I believe that it is one of the most beautiful languages in the world, that you have to learn something about it. So let's just start it with what I'm going to say. Look at these 2 words, which means public speaking together. This is yan, which means act, perform. And this is jiang, speak. And these 2 words just combine the fundamentals and the key factors that to make a successful speech, right? So this is another interesting thing that in Chinese language, you can tell a lot of information from the words. And for me, like yan, which means perform, just means how to deliver, while 讲 means what to say, and related to the content. Together, make a great speech. We focus on content first. Now, let me introduce a rhetorical structure that we use to organize our speech. 起承转合 pattern. It's originally coming from the poem structure hundreds of years ago, but it is still commonly used for a variety of texts in both ancient and modern language. Here, 起 means the opening or the beginning. 承 here means continuous or joint opening to the next stage. 转 is the transition or turning point, and used either to develop or expand the arguments, while the last 和 is the summary or conclusion. If we look at the traditional 5-paragraph essay writing in English, we can see some similarity between them. They have connections anyway. Even though there are some similarities, but the philosophy and the culture behind it are totally different. Let's take an example to show the structure. Here is a poem comes from the Tang Dynasty, from a very famous poet. At the front of my bed, moonlight shines. This is the first beginning part. 起. I think there is frost on the ground. This is 承. Raising my hand, I look at the moon. 转, transition. Lowering my head, I think of home. The last part, 和. The conclusion is he's missing his home. In this poem, the poet uses an indirect way to express his emotion. At the beginning, he didn't tell us about the point. He's missing his home. Talk something else. It is a very typical Chinese style. For Chinese people, the way that we are thinking is like a sparrow. While in English, people think in a linear way. So this is another difference. In English, people always get to the point at the very beginning, maybe the first sentence for the first graph or even the article to get the point. And then everything is just around the point, and then step by step make the conclusion direct way. It's a typical Chinese style. But that doesn't mean that we always use indirect way instead of direct way. It also all depends on the audience and the targets of the speech. If you want to persuade someone at higher level than you or lower level than you, it's totally different. Remember the old culture and the philosophy of Chinese. The philosophy from Confucius has influenced us for thousands of years. Also the yin-yang balance for persuasion. And you're talking with a person with a lot of power, which means it's hot. So you have to use the soft way, which is yin. There is another difference between English and Chinese language speech. Chinese emphasizes more on the meaning, which is parotactic, while English emphasizes on the form or the structure more, which is hypertactic. For example, in Chinese, we use much less connection devices to connect the clauses, but more on the inner logic to understand it. While in English, people use a lot of connection devices like the conjunctions as, therefore, if, because, etc. Let's take some example. The first sentence, if he does come today, I will come to him directly tomorrow. In Chinese, we don't have if. The second, because she is not honest, I can't trust her. In the Chinese sentence, we don't have the word be because. And the third, we don't have the word, the wall. So sometimes we don't use the conjunctions and also sometimes the subject or objects, but we also can have the same meaning. The difference is that I just mentioned, just a small part of it. Actually, this is not a matter of a language, but matter of culture. However, as the economic globalization, as the humanity came together, as it developed technology, we became closer and closer, and the cultures influence each other and integrate. So we will feel less and less different when we are thinking, when we are talking, when we're communicating, and even doing things. At last, I would like to read a poem that we just talked about at the beginning in Chinese. 床前明月光，疑是地上霜。举头望明月，低头思故乡。Is it beautiful? Do you think that it's just like music with the rhythm? It's because when you notice, the last syllables of 3 words are the same. This is another very interesting part of Chinese language. By matching the last syllables, you can get a rhythm and make the sound, make the tone harmony. Thank you.
Well, that was an absolutely fascinating review of the Chinese language and rhetoric from Mungjia in Shanghai. A great pleasure and thrill to have her contributing to Rhetoric Remix. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be letting you know about our next broadcast of Rhetoric Remix, which will be next week, very soon. But for now, thanks very much, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.